So, if you have been waiting as impatiently as I think you probably have been, we are going to make our big announcement about what Michigan Nature Bites is. So, my name is Evin, and I'm going to be your host for what is our brand new web series of Michigan Nature Bites, where you will get to fuel your brain with a small bite of Michigan nature knowledge each week. So these are going to end up being a weekly web series where myself, your host, will be joined by an animal guest. In this case, we are being joined by Bonsai today, but I also will be bringing on guest speakers as well. So this is your chance to tune in each week for a very short, about 10 or 15 minute clip of Michigan nature knowledge. And that's not a lot, don't worry, it's not like you've got to spend your whole lunch break on it, although if you're eating at 2:30 every day, maybe we need to have a talk about your personal health. However, this is going to be a great opportunity for us to show you a little bit what we do here at the Howell Nature Center, because we've been doing educational programs for a couple of decades now. And each year we reach about 40,000 or 400,000 different people. But with COVID has come some COVID creativity, as our CEO, JC, has kind of branded it. So we've had to get COVID creative with how we reach people. And because we have been doing virtual presentations in lieu of our in-person presentations, this became a really great opportunity to expand to you all. And if you're like me, a nature nerd, the idea of getting to be my very own David Attenborough or Steve Irwin or Jeff Corwin was too good to pass up. Now, those are big shoes to fill. I am not trying to say that that is who I am going to be. However, it's that same idea that we now get to be able to help you all learn about the animals that you have in your backyard. Now, I do have Bonsai here, and this week, our very first Nature Bites is going to be about adaptations. Now, if you've never heard about adaptations, those are either physical or mental attributes that help an animal survive in the wild. Now, as we're getting ready to get started, a couple of things that are going to be staples of our Michigan Nature Bites programming. One, these are Facebook Live videos, which means that you are seeing me live. And that also means that if you ask questions in the chat to our mystery person behind the computer who is helping me out, then they will be able to give me those questions and we can answer them here as part of the show. In addition, I am going to have with me each week a nature notebook. This is my personal nature notebook. It's kind of fun. It's got sea turtles and things on it. But hey, I'm not the only one who gets excited about nature notebooks. And I think that you all, if you're going to tune in with us each week, could really get excited about a nature notebook, because I'm going to be sharing some really neat facts each week about our different animal ambassadors. So this week, I've got a nature notebook full of wood duck adaptations. So while maybe writing down these facts isn't exactly for you, what you can do with something like a nature notebook or kind of like a field notebook is you could write down questions. So maybe you're a little shy to ask them in the whole group chat of the live video. But if you are thinking and you're watching the program and you go, I wonder why, then you can write that down in your nature notebook and you can Facebook message us privately, or you can come out to the Nature Center and find one of us in person to ask that question. Or if you prefer to go out into nature on your own, the really cool thing about a notebook is that you don't have to remember it all in your brain. You can actually go out and write things down. Maybe you saw a really cool pine cone and you kind of sketch it out and you're like, well, it kind of had these little spiky bits here and it had a couple of seeds that looked like this in it there, but you don't know how to identify it right there. So either you can look online or you can bring your nature notebook to somebody who's an expert and see if they can help you figure it out. So I'm going to be using my nature notebook each week to share different facts with you. But I encourage you all to get your own nature notebook to join in the fun. So this week, in my nature notebook, we are learning about wood duck adaptations. Is that right, Bonsai? Yeah. So Bonsai, the wood duck, is part of our permanent resident collection here at the Howell Nature Center. So if you are tuning in for the very first time, we are Michigan's largest wildlife rehabilitation clinic at about 4,000 patients every year. And the cool part is that the majority of those animals get to go back out into the wild. However, some of them need a permanent home because they have some sort of injury, like Bonsai, that prevents them from being able to survive on their own in the wild. Now, in Bonsai's case, his injury doesn't have anything to do with his wings or his beak or his tail feathers. It has to do with his brain. So bonsai is what we call a mal-imprinted bird. And all birds imprint. Imprinting is when they're taken care of as a baby, they associate their species as to what is taking care of them. So for bonsai, if he were out in the wild, that should have been his wood duck parents. However, somebody found him toddling along in the woods, probably to his mom, who was just a little bit further away, and decided that he had been abandoned. So they took him into their home and raised him as they thought they saw fit. However, what that meant for Bonsai was that while he should be thinking about wood duck thoughts up here, he's now thinking people thoughts. So as you may notice, he may chime in a couple of times during this presentation because when he hears us talking, he wants to be part of that conversation as well. So Bonsai, not able to survive on his own in the wild, but he gets to be an amazing animal ambassador for wood ducks. So let's jump into some yummy tidbits about wood ducks. So in my nature notebook, one of the first things that I have here is that all across the nation in about the 1900s, wood ducks were almost extinct, which means that they would have gone away. There wouldn't have been enough of their population left. But thankfully, through new regulations and some extra effort by people like you, or maybe your grandparents, we were able to save the wood duck and bring their population numbers back to the point where there are actually quite a few wood ducks around now. However, they are very shy birds, and so in the wild, you might not get a chance to see them because for them, they are going to be living in things like tree cavities. So for that, the adaptation to living in a tree cavity is you're way up high off the ground, keeping you safe from predators. So a female wood duck can lay her eggs up in a cavity and keep herself nice and safe. And then when they're ready to hatch, they'll jump out of the tree, sometimes 60 feet up in the air. For some perspective, that's about a 5-story tall building. And these tiny little baby wood ducks are able to jump and survive that kind of fall without the ability to fly. So it's a pretty intense first couple of days if you are a wood duck. So we're gonna keep moving because we are gonna keep these bites really short and we've got another couple of tidbits we wanna share with you. One is that you may notice how colorful bonsai is. Bonsai's colors help to show off to all of the other ladies, or in this case to people, because like we said, he thinks he's a person, what a really good job at surviving he does. Because the more food that he gets, the stronger he is, the better he is at surviving, the brighter those colors are gonna be. So let me see if I can get him, will you step up? Thank you. Let me see if I can bring him a little bit closer to the camera. But all of those colors help him to show off how good at surviving he is. So those colors aren't just for making a show, they are also for showing that he's got good genes. So those colors, not just for show. Now, you might notice now that he's standing on my hands that his toes are webbed. Like most aquatic animals or animals that like to live in the water, those webbed toes are helpful for swimming. And for whatever reason, he is deciding to stand on the very edge of my hand, which is not really how they do well. So he might look a little awkward standing on my hand, but they're very majestic out in the wild. So last adaptation, last little nature bite, little tidbit that we're going to talk about today from my handy dandy notebook is that in the wild, these ducks are really good at cracking open nuts, which is kind of a unique skill for ducks who mostly just dabble their beaks across the top of the water. But for Bonsai, his beak is strong enough to crack open something like an acorn. And so as an omnivore, which means that he can eat both plants and animals, he's able to eat things like those nuts or tasty little grubs, which is how we're going to end this presentation today while we wait for questions, is with a couple of treats for Bonsai in the form, well, he's going to go explore the studio while I sit here and ask for questions. So, man behind the camera, Do we have any questions coming through in the chat for our Nature Bites today?
We have no questions coming through yet.
Okay. We'll hang out for just a little bit longer to see if anybody of you have questions. And if this is your first time tuning in and you missed the majority of it, don't worry. We're going to do this every week, except for we might take off, the week of Christmas, because I think, isn't Christmas on a Thursday this year? Yeah, we're going to be in to feed the animals, but I think I'm probably going to go home after that. But every week, every Thursday at 2:30, you're going to be able to join me, Evin, and an animal ambassador for our Michigan Nature Bites, where, if you missed it earlier, we are going to fuel our brains with small bites of Michigan nature knowledge. All right, we've got a question. Yes.
Yeah, so Linda Heston says, how do they stay warm in the winter?
Ooh, good question, Linda. So Linda asked, how do wood ducks stay warm in the winter? And the short story is they migrate. So Bonsai stays with us all year round, but in the colder months, he moves into an indoor habitat that keeps him nice and toasty so that he can stay warm because he doesn't really have enough feathers to keep himself to keep himself warm. So he'd be migrating. Yes.
So yeah, we've got a couple more questions rolling in.
Okay.
First, how much does Bonsai eat?
How much does Bonsai eat? If it were up to him, he would eat this entire thing of mealworms. But on a daily basis, we feed him about 3 tablespoons of dry food and about a 1/4 cup of things like greens and fruits. So we keep his diet pretty consistent so that he doesn't gain weight. Yes.
We've got 2 more questions. Carrie wants to know, do wood ducks migrate?
So yes, Carrie, if you are just tuning in with us, wood ducks do migrate. So while he's here with us all throughout the winter, we do have to put him inside some special habitat to keep him warm, but they would be migrating out in the winter normally. Yes.
And then we have one more question from, one more just came in.
Awesome,
Jordan,
keep them coming.
Yeah, Jordan says, penguins do a catastrophic molt. What can you tell us about wood duck molting patterns?
Oh, this is super exciting. So one fun tidbit about wood ducks, especially male wood ducks, is after the mating season, they go through a bit of a gender reversal. So their gender stays the same, but their feathers become more dull, like a female wood duck. So they lose all their really colorful feathers because they don't need them anymore. And it's very expensive resource-wise for them to keep those. So wood ducks, when it's not time for them to attract a mate, turn into a little bit more of a drab animal. But they don't go through a catastrophic molt. They don't lose all their feathers at one time. Bonsai will keep his nice kind of water-coated or waterproofed feathers for the most part. All right, we got a couple more questions?
Yeah, so one follow-up question from Jordan is,
yes.
Are there other wood ducks at the Howell Nature Center, and do they stay with Bonsai?
We just have Bonsai here at the Howell Nature Center, and because he's a mal-imprinted bird, which means that he thinks that he is a person, his only other habitat mate is Gogo the night heron. So other wood ducks probably wouldn't do well with Bonsai because they're pretty shy animals, and while Bonsai is really excited, as we can hear him behind the camera now, other wood ducks wouldn't be so excited about living with Bonsai.
And then we have one other question that just rolled in.
Okay.
6-year-old Micah. What fruits?
Hi Micah, we're really glad you're here with us.
What fruits does Bonsai eat?
Bonsai loves raspberries and blueberries. Those are his absolute favorites. He likes to mush them up with his very, very strong beak and gets very excited about them. Watermelons are also a favorite too, but mostly those are a summertime treat. All right, friends, we are at time. We have hit our limit for this week's Michigan Nature Bites. If you are just tuning in, we hope to see you next week. And remember, come ready next week with your nature notebook to write down what tidbits you find exciting or questions that you might need answered. This is Evin signing off, and we will see you all next week. Bye.